Hello, everyone. This is Cash Miller. I'm host of Marketing Masters, CEO of Titan Digital. Today, I've got with me Lindsay Rosenthal, Cred.marketing. So it just goes by Cred Marketing, right? I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you are a expert in short form video, specifically like for TikTok and stuff, and that's what we're going to be covering today. Lindsay, it's great to have you on the show. Tell us a little bit about what you do exactly, because from an agency standpoint, you have something that's a little bit different that a lot of agencies don't offer.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me on here, Cash. Excited to hop on here, talk about short form video content. Been doing a lot of short form video content for the past 2 years, and so I have quite the expertise and quite the knowledge base to talk about it. So Cred.marketing, what I do is we make a lot of short form video content for companies. How it works is we hop on an hour call with founders, executives, CEOs, ask them a bunch of questions, and then turn all those questions into short form videos for LinkedIn, social media, websites. We found that these founders and executives have so much knowledge about their industry and their domain, and they're having everyone around them say, make short form video content, but they just simply don't have the time. So Cred Marketing, we make all the video content for people to kind of get their expertise out and really connect with their clients.
Well, that's great. Yeah, short form video has really been on the rise, and especially when TikTok came along and stuff, and now other platforms, have been copying it. So I want to ask you first, because there's multiple platforms using it. What are some of the best ones, as far as the way it's getting done? Because there's, essentially the other large platforms have been copying it, but what have you seen, like the differences between them? Who's doing it a little bit better? From that standpoint.
Yeah, so obviously we all know TikTok. TikTok was kind of like the mastermind of it all. They've really made it like super popular and kind of made it more mainstream. Obviously, off of TikTok, we've had like the Instagram Shorts, and we've had the YouTube short videos as well, and those have done really well.
Mhm.
I actually do a lot of my short-form video content on LinkedIn, which is kind of a whole nother place that hasn't been as pushed as much short-form video content,
Yeah.
but for the people I work with, it's been more businesses, a lot of B2B businesses. We've done a lot of short form video on LinkedIn. So I just think short form video as a whole is a type of media that's really becoming more popular across every platform, because it kind of just weaves into the way that us humans are starting to enjoy our content. So whether that's TikTok, whether that's Instagram, whether that's LinkedIn, it's kind of like a type of media that's been popular across all platforms.
Yeah, it's definitely a moved from platform to platform. It's interesting that you're using it for LinkedIn because you haven't seen as much there. It's like YouTube's really taking advantage of it. Seeing a lot of that stuff in there, and of course they've mixed in with the algorithm to give you other short form videos and stuff. Relevant to what you're watching and whatnot. How should businesses really be taking it? So what's the opportunity first for businesses to take advantage of short form? Because of the different platforms and such. So what is the opportunity? And then we'll get into how do you start taking advantage of it? How would you go about it?
Yeah, I think when it comes to businesses, in the past, we always had newspapers, billboards, ads on blogs. So it was very like stationary, very not connected to the client and connected to the customer as much. But now with short form video content, it's really like pumped up, like the authenticity and the ability to really connect with your people. And I think over the years, short form video content has gotten so much more popular. We think of like COVID, everyone's online, spending exponentially more time online. Conversely, with like their attention span decreasing even more.
Yeah.
And then everything's being filmed online too. We have so much content. So I think we're starting to becoming short form video content really spiked. And so I feel like with businesses, being able to kind of move into short form video content allows them to kind of be more, authentic, really kind of place themselves into the shoes of their customers and kind of become someone that's almost like a friend on social media versus someone that's kind of talking at them and as much to the business, because that's one thing we've really learned over the past couple of years, that businesses that can be really authentic and kind of connect with their consumer are the ones that will be the ones landing clients, landing customers and stuff. So I think that authentic side is really where businesses are starting to kind of capitalize on short form video content.
Well, I think also, technology's changed a lot, especially over like the last decade. So, traditionally we're used to 30-second commercials and things like that, and that's been around forever. But because of technology changing, like we do a lot of video production and stuff, and you don't need $20,000 setups and things like that anymore to, to get good quality video of any sort. Like I say, you can pull out your iPhone or your Galaxy or whatever, and you can do something that's of decent quality, to be able to use. So a lot of people, with cameras, video being able to be done on your phone, and then also even just good cameras if stuff, if you want to go that route to make something that might be a little bit better on the quality, but it's so much easier and cheaper to do it. It's allowed everybody to be their own producer essentially, versus having to, hire a crew and do things, like you used to. Like I say, I always wonder because you still get like big TV commercials and they're still doing all of that route and everything. But if you watch like some of the car commercials, you watch them driving through the big cities and stuff, and it's like, wow, they got this whole city, and it's like literally a car with a green screen behind and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
the technology.
I would argue that it's like the businesses that are kind of using more of like the video and using more of the more organic type of methods are the ones that are kind of landing
Yeah.
better now, because we're so
And-
used to, like, since COVID, like filming on our computers or filming on our phones. Like that's the media that we're
That's-
so used to and we really enjoy. Whereas the ones that are like in the studio, which cost a lot of money,
Yeah.
that's just and I think that kind of piggybacks off of nicely is at this point, like it's been quantity kind of over quality when
Yeah.
it comes to TikTok and producing content. Like in the past, it was
Mhm.
always one 30-second advertisement, and you played that on TV for a year, and everyone know
Yeah.
the words of this advertisement
Yeah,
at the end of
right.
the year. And it was really, really well done, but it was a lot of money. Whereas now it's all about like quantity, quantity, quantity. And so of course, like kind of the price goes down of the amount you put into like making each piece of content. But that's kind of how we've moved with short form video content, with content in general.
Yeah, I think with, like I say, COVID, and you ended up with, obviously the rise of Zoom and everything, a lot more people, like I say, the technology got cheaper. So it got a lot easier to do for people. And then a lot of them got more comfortable being on camera all the time, and doing, such calls and stuff. And I'm like, I had a guy for that's going to maybe be a guest on the podcast. And he's like, so do we do this in person? I'm like, are you kidding me? And I know for a fact
I've been asked that before with my podcast. I'm like, I don't have the studio lights in the background, like to do an in-person one. Like,
yeah.
And we're so used to this type of media. And I think comfortability has become a huge thing since COVID. Like before COVID, no one even knew what Zoom was. None of us did. But now we make so much video online, and like the video has absolutely spiked. And that's why some of like, obviously I hop on calls with people and make that into video, but people have video. Like there's never been more video being produced. So even making that video that you already have into short form video content to better connect. Like I'm sure having a podcast, like the importance of making this long form video content and then taking pieces out and like spreading it across socials, because that's how like we really connect to people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's gotten so much easier to do. So now businesses have this great opportunity if they're not already, doing it, to be able to create short form content. So, okay, so we get more authenticity because they're able to connect with people more directly and stuff. So if you were to start doing this for yourself, like what do you build around? Okay, think of like if you're going to create a connection, you're not just going to create a bunch of random videos and stuff and just, hey, I'm here. So how do you craft it into a story? Like you said, you do interviews that can take it like an hour, and you're going to be able to chop it up into multiple things. So what kind of videos should they be creating that can help them, connect with an audience?
Yeah. I think when it comes down to this, I think there's probably 3 main pillars that I like to follow when I'm making my content. I think one, the biggest thing is the hook. Like the first 4, 5, 6 seconds of your video, it really has to emphasize the point of the video in an interesting way that's going to connect with the clients. And so, or connect with your customer, or connect with your target market, whoever that is. So the first part of the video has to be super interesting, super to the point, and really catch their attention. With all content, if it's not entertaining or if it's not educating, then people don't care. They won't listen to it. So I think it really comes down to that first 5, 6 seconds, like make it dynamic, make some things happening, make the words really important. So I think that's huge. And I think after you have the hook down, just having like the piece of snackable content, making sure it's a really great topic that's interesting, that's really emphasizing kind of the main point of the video, whether that's like from a big webinar or something you're just sitting down to film. I think having that 60 seconds max be really packed full. Like when I'm making my videos, like anything that's 0.4 second word gap, I take out, like making sure there's no gaps and making sure it's kind of to the point, to make sure it's educating, entertaining. And then lastly, making sure that it's from the point of view that, like I said already, authentic, making sure that it's like in the point of view that you would care to listen to as a customer. I think that's kind of the most important things when making your short form video content.
Okay, so if you're putting together the videos and stuff, what's the goal though? I mean, so okay, I've got all this great content, I've got it snackable and stuff, and it's all, but what am I trying to do typically with that audience? What's my end game besides, okay, yeah, everybody now knows who I am and stuff, and my company or whatever, I'm an expert, but am I driving them to landing pages? Am I, trying to build up, the amount of views? Am I just focused on brand awareness? What are we trying to accomplish?
Well, first of all, like overall umbrella, like it depends on the company. It depends on what you're trying to do with your short form video content. But along those lines, like when you're creating short form video content, you're trying to connect to consumers, there's really important numbers to hit. The numbers are 90% educating and entertaining your people that are watching the videos, 90% like giving information, like entertaining them in such a way, and only like maybe 5 to 10% actually talking about your product. So whatever your goal is, that's either driving it to a landing page or telling you about the service that you have, it's fine. Like you can talk about that and you can touch on that like in your 10% of your content, but 90% of it has to just be giving something to your audience. If you just start off the bat, this is what we do, no one really cares. The importance is when you're posting all the time and 90% of it is just interesting stuff that kind of places you more as a thought leader or kind of just giving something to your clients. Because then when they go to think about, oh, I really need a solution for this service, I need a solution for this product, they remember that sentence that you add into your video about the product that you're giving or that 10%, and that will land you the client. No one's going to land you the client from this first video they see. It's really just building up that respect and building up that connection to your people. So I think whatever your goal is, have your goal, but kind of make sure that's kind of confined to 10% of your content versus always talking about it.
Got it. Okay. Well, that makes sense, because they say people, it's always best to give away free information if you can, because you're helping first,
Yeah. And I think we've seen that a ton lately across the internet. Like in the past, we would everyone had courses or like everyone had courses that you come and join.
Sure.
And it's like the opposite now. Like you make courses, but you give them for free in order to have like this really good base, this community of people that follow you for your knowledge or follow you for what you're doing, follow you for what your company's doing. And then when it comes to wanting to actually sell a product or something, you already have this group. And so whether that's creating short form content or creating courses for free, give for free and you'll build up that community of people who really trust you and want to buy whatever you're making.
Okay. So you mentioned something like, say, the amount of content you need. And now when you do something, you do an interview with someone for an hour and then you're going to, I saw on your website, it's like, give me an hour and I'll give you a month's worth of content or something, so how much content is that, that we're talking, how many videos and whatnot can you consider? And then if you're doing this as a long-term strategy, if you're giving away 90%, so that 10% is really about what you do or what you're trying to make money off of. How long do you need to be doing this before you start to see traction and a return on your investment?
Yeah. So when it comes to what I do, the hour call usually converts to 12 to 20 questions. So it's kind of an array, however many you want to do. And so that can be posted across the month or even into text-based stuff, but mostly short form video content. So that's how that works. Okay. When it comes to seeing return on how the videos go, such a crazy variety of return. You could put out your first video and I've seen clients have someone reach out to them and be like, hey, this is cool. Can you tell me more about it? Or it can be a month. Short form video content, it's just so all over the place when it comes to how fast it lands. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, whoever puts out the most content, whoever puts out the most meaningful content, whoever puts out the best content will get connected to people versus those who aren't.
Hmm.
The people who aren't creating the content, who aren't getting the voices out, are not the ones reaching the customers, are not the ones reaching the clients. But if you are putting content out, you will start to reach. And so I think it's not really a question of like how often, but more eventually you will. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And then, so let's talk about, from a promotional standpoint, the videos and stuff that you're, putting together. Are you looking for organic reach on these videos? Are you, encouraging that, people put money behind them at least to get traction? Because what if you don't have much of an audience to begin with?
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely can promote the videos across platforms. So I think just when it comes to TikTok and LinkedIn, I think the best way to kind of promote your reach is through commenting. I think commenting is a huge thing. So if you don't already have a followers and stuff, I think there's really good numbers about like for every post that you post, having like 15 comments out there or 10 comments out there. And so people who obviously I've done ghostwriting for people, I've done commenting ghostwriting on top of it. But I think if you want to extend your reach, and LinkedIn's like come out and said that this is so important, but commenting is super important to kind of extend your reach. So when people are looking at your profile, it kind of drives back to whatever you're posting. And especially when it comes to LinkedIn, like if you're commenting on a post, and you go to comment, like you look into your notifications, you can see like so-and-so just commented on a post that you commented on. So you can imagine like if you're commenting on posts, like these things are coming directly to people's inboxes of notifications. So I think when it comes to reach, if you want to take it to the next level, I think taking your commenting game seriously is like where it's at.
Yeah, and like I say, so you can do it organically, but you're going to have to spend some time doing it. You've got to get involved with other people and stuff. LinkedIn, of course, if you've got a ton of connections, and you're paying attention to them, especially if like its notification system, things that you might comment on that are interesting to you and stuff based on what other people are doing. That totally makes sense. To be able to build up reach and whatnot. Is I'm just kind of curious, like commenting versus liking and sharing and stuff. Have you seen anything specific to LinkedIn that has said, hey, one is better than the other?
Commenting is definitely the best, like by far, versus posting. I think it kind of is the ability to open up conversations with other people, which is just another way to kind of connect and make like relationships. Like I've made relationships across LinkedIn just through like commenting links and commenting feeds. But I think commenting is really important for that to kind of keep conversations going. And then commenting too, like it kind of creates new ideas even for my own content. Like I'll start commenting, like this is a good topic to kind of talk more about, create a separate post about, and then kind of create a commenting chain. So I think commenting, especially like a meaningful thought, is super interesting versus like liking and just like reposting without making it its own post, its own thought is not quite as impactful in general. It does get you out a little bit more versus doing nothing. But I would always recommend just giving a quick thought. It doesn't have to take much time. I feel like if you can read a post in a minute and comment in 30 seconds, it doesn't take that much time.
There's if you're going to do this kind of stuff, you're going to need some tools, and there's a large number of tools that you can possibly use to cut up videos and stuff if you're going to do something longer and whatnot. Do you have like recommended tools that business owners could be using to be able to put this, so like if you did it yourself, what would it take? I mean, in your case, of course, now you don't want to do it yourself. Here, I can help you with it. But the thing is you're going to provide structure to this, to this.
No, I always talk about the tools that I use. I've never gatekeep them. I'm always like, if you want to use the tools, use the tools. But I think, so I also have an AI podcast. I talk about all about AI tools. And so I'm always on top of like what's going on in like AI tools, especially when it comes to video software. And in the past, like before these tools really came out, I did use like Adobe Premiere Pro and things like that, which takes so much time. And it's like, if you want to do a video, like an editing, like a short video took forever. And so now there's like all these exciting AI tools that have come out to make video software like editing easier. I still believe that video editing is still proportional to the time you put in. So if you want a really high quality video, you still have to put some time into the video editing, even if you're using an AI software. It's not the point yet where you can just throw in a long form video content and have it come out perfect. But there are tools that you throw it in and it comes out decent if that's all you have the time for. I currently use Descript and Pictory. I think these are great tools where you bring in your long form video content and you can press one or two buttons and all the filler words go away. So all the ums and ahs, all the word gaps go away. So I think these are like huge, like when it comes to like comparing to like Adobe Premiere Pro, you can do those on your own. So I think that's a really great example. And then being able to kind of make short form video content on these is great. I would always recommend Descript and Pictory for these type of things. Then when it comes to like even less time putting in, there's things like Opus Pro. That's another AI tool that's like you can put in. You can even pull like long form video content from YouTube, like interesting podcasts or longer videos. And it makes into like shorter sort of things you can put on TikTok and you can put on YouTube, you can put on Instagram. And those are like literally 0 time, and it gives you outputs, which aren't great, but they're outputs if you need to post something and you have 0 time. So there's kind of an array right now. I think maybe in the next couple of years, they'll get better. I think AI still doesn't quite understand what makes humans love content and really connect to content. It just kind of pulls words and makes a video. It doesn't really like be like, this is what makes humans enjoy short video content. It doesn't do that. It's still very like technology based. And so I think once it can kind of understand the sentiment of what makes a content piece powerful, then maybe those will be better, which is really hard to do. So we'll see how those goes. But I still think some of the tools that are coming out here is 10 times faster than using like Premiere Pro.
Yeah, it's definitely faster than that. It is amazing with the number of AI tools that have been coming out. How quick you can do things and how much better you can actually do it. Short form. So, do you have a recommended length of time that seems to get the most amount of traction? Because short form can be, hey, I want 30 seconds, or hey, I want 5. So is there a sweet spot that you've seen?
Yeah, I think it all depends. It was funny. I was kind of looking into the history of short form video content the other day, and it started with Vine, like 6 seconds, and then it moved to like a minute, and then now TikTok, you can post up to 10 minutes. And so there is a very big
What's short about that? That's not short form anything.
Not at all. So I think there's kind of a variety. But when it comes down to like the ideal amount of time that people can want to pay attention to a video, like I mentioned earlier, hook, 5 seconds, really important. But in the rest of the video, I usually shoot for like 60 seconds, maybe a minute 15, minute 20. I think that's kind of like the best amount of time to kind of, and enough time too. If you're going to have one topic in your video, which I would recommend, that's enough time to like give your hook, give what it's about, give the 5 takeaways, the 3 takeaways, and kind of conclude on a powerful note. And then if they want to watch more, they can go to your profile, or they can go to your website, or they can watch the full podcast. I think that minute to minute 30 is probably the sweet spot.
Yeah, I've seen everything on YouTube seems to be like 30 seconds or less. They're really short. They do a lot of clips that people will take and chop up from, TV shows and, other things, or news, pieces or whatever it might be. So, like I say, it's, if it's it's short form for a reason, and anything too long, you're going to lose their attention span.
Yeah.
So if you're a brand and you want to start turning this into, crafting a story, over time, because they say, some of the best stuff is that you can really build it out, and like I say, you've got a lot of smaller snippets, but a brand can really make an impact with it, and you start to recognize it. I guess, I say it's kind of like, if you go back to like TV commercials and stuff, and you say, like everybody knows who Flo is, right? And who she works for. But so if you're building out stories like that, so you can kind of build your brand around something, is what's going to be some of the best things you can do to get traction that way?
Yeah, I think kind of having a plan. If you're going to create like a story, like people who are writing books aren't just writing on the fly and hoping it kind of comes out at the end. So kind of having like a plan and having scripts and having things before you make the videos of like, here's like the personality that we want to create as a business. Like it's been really cool, like seeing different businesses across TikTok and how they've become almost like personalities. And so, and it's not, that's just not done by accident. Like they obviously have a plan. They obviously had it like written out about how they want to kind of move forward with their short form video content. And so always have a plan. Before I hop on any calls with the founders and execs I work with, like we have like the person we're trying to connect with, like who are their target audience, who do we want these videos to kind of connect with, and that's all in the planning, and then all of our questions line up with that. So all of the videos that we create connect back to the plan. So I think when creating a story, creating like the flow from progressive, there's always kind of a plan with what's our story, what's our personality, and how does it relate to kind of the end customer, and kind of going from there.
Yeah. So, you can end up crafting stories, but yeah, you got to start first, talk to, what does the customer look like? Who are we trying to reach and everything? And then, you plan it out over time and say, okay, you mentioned earlier doing like 15 or 20 spots, that you would get is worth as far as content out of an hour, with someone. And that's what you're going to have for the whole month, in which case, multiply that over the course of a year, you could be talking a couple of hundred spots. And if you're going to build a storyline for it, you're going to want to have that in mind. And it's not that you got to figure out 240 spots, 20 a month or something. No, you just got to figure out what does that hour look like and what are you going to be chopping it up into, and then the next month, if you continue the storyline, you can do that, but it's going to, there's going to be changes. So it's kind of like, a dozen episodes, and then split up like 20 ways. Yeah. So each is each month is a season. And the storyline could change a little bit, but the characters are still there.
Yeah. And I think that really like people like to connect and relate back to a certain person. I think that's why we've had influencers, and that's why we have like TV shows and TV stars that we go watch all the time. I think it's a really good point, like kind of building up like the personality and the person that people come back and watch.
Yeah.
We don't just go and watch a million different people across social media. It's like we have our favorite people that we go and see. And I think it is done through crafting. It doesn't have to, it can be more like authentic, like your actual personality, which is better for the long term versus like staging it. But you have your personality, you have your character, you have your goal, and people will come back and start watching that, especially if you become really if you're doing it for a long different time.
Do you think it should be typically like the CEO, the founder, or whatever of the company, or can you, is that like usually the best route to go for who's going to be central to that storyline, or is it, can you use, like I say, actors, characters, or anything that you've done? And I think of, if you go back to, let's say, using a TV example again, but like car commercials and stuff, and how you'd have the same spokesperson, instead of necessarily the owner of that dealership or whatnot. Is there a better route to go, or does it just depend?
It all depends. I mean, we've done where we work with like the CEO one month, the CFO the next month, like the CIO the next month. So we've done it where we've kind of worked with everyone across the company to kind of build up everyone's social medias. So we've done it that way.
Oh, okay.
We've done it where it's just the CEO every month. They want to talk about the product. They could be the business development dude because that's the person that wants to talk about the product and kind of get out there and talk to people. So it really doesn't matter. I think it's always interesting. I feel like I've seen videos, especially the past couple of months, of just CEOs talk about their product in a very organic way. I feel like that just connects me really well. You always see like, I think it's Ryan Reynolds because he has like Mint Mobile and things like that. Like sometimes it's just getting from the point of view of the person who created the product and the reason why they created the product is always super interesting. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I think it's like we've seen actors, we've seen characters and stuff, but I think it is pretty special. Like that's why I've kind of connected with the CEOs and execs of companies. That they're the ones that know the product. They're the ones that have the
passion for it.
The passion and kind of the reason why they built the product and who they're trying to connect with. So that's why I always gone for those type of personnel and even different people across the team, because they all have different knowledge backgrounds. Maybe the CEO is maybe more of a marketing type background, where like the CTO actually understands how the technology is built, and they can talk about how it's built in a way that kind of connects with the client. So it all just depends. I think it depends on the company, depends on even the medium of where the content's coming out on.
Yeah. I think Ryan Reynolds has an unfair advantage over everybody else, but he's done.
Not everyone's Ryan Reynolds.
I know
their content.
He sold Mint Mobile, and then he's also got a vodka brand, I think it is, or gin. Gin. Yeah.
What major celebrity doesn't have an alcohol brand now, though?
Yeah, I know, right? They all do. Either they have one or they've sold one. I know George Clooney sold his, I believe.
That was kind of been the biggest thing over the past year or two, is like alcohol brands. Like everyone's creating alcohol brands. And there's been every other like product and stuff, but I feel like alcohol's kind of been big in the past
Yeah,
couple
and it's
years.
all either gin, in the case of Reynolds, or tequila or
Tequila.
vodka. Yeah,
Yeah.
tequila's been really big, of course, So yeah, it's amazing. But so the owners and founders and whatnot and CEOs, and other people within the organizations can become sort of the face of the business through these types of videos and whatnot, and then craft the story, of whatever it is you're going to want to get across. 90% of it should be what we're saying to people, like you're giving information, you're helping, and then 10% is hey, check out whatever it is we're actually offering and such. So you're trying to provide value, without necessarily asking for anything in return. And then you're going to, over time, you're going to do a lot of content though doing this, but you can do it in such a way that it doesn't have to be all time consuming, because you could do an hour and get a ton, 20 videos, for it, and be done for the rest of the month, right? So to kind of
Yeah.
sum everything up, is there any
Nail
other?
on the head.
Yeah. So is there any other key points that you would add to it, that might have been missed?
Yeah. I think one big point that I always talk about with people I work with is that these people aren't like video content creators. They have built awesome companies.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes when they get on camera, they're like do what I even say even matters. And I think when
Yeah.
it comes down to that, like just start creating, like just start making videos, start putting them out there, because you know your industry like the back of your hand better than anyone else knows.
Yeah.
And so I think kind of just shamelessly making content and getting it out there will always reap more benefits than not.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. Lindsay, how would people get a hold of you when they want an expert? Because there's not a lot of people that do things the way you do it.
Yeah, you can find me on my LinkedIn. It's like I'm sure you'll put it in the comments below. I
Yeah.
think LinkedIn's probably the best way to reach me.
All right. Do you have a website or anything you want to put out there?
I do. It's cred.marketing, the name of the
Yeah.
company.
Okay. So this has been great. My name is Cash Miller. I'm the host of Marketing Masters, CEO of Titan Digital. We've been talking short form video. There's tons of uses that you can, apply it to your business and such. And it really doesn't take a huge investment, either money wise from a technology standpoint or time wise, because you can create a lot of content in a short amount of time. And we hope you enjoyed the episode, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks.